hey, agent, this is VIP. Go jump on it. Picture a Jenga tower that you keep adding on top and you keep removing bottom pieces and you keep stacking on top of it. And soon it becomes unstable. Well, that's much like in Zendesk. When you add too many triggers, it starts feeling like a Jenga tower. Because without a solid foundation, the whole system becomes unstable and it will fall. It will crack. Now, this sounds much more dramatic than it is because in actuality, what happens is your agents become unproductive. They have to find different ways to perform their jobs because in a straightforward way, it's not possible anymore because there's tags that collide with one another. One changes the status to solved and the other one changes it to open. One trigger makes it urgent and then another one gives it a low priority. So that leaves people scratching their heads and trying to figure out the best way to just do their jobs. My name is Dominic. I'm a customer experience guy. I've been in the field for 15 years, 12 years as Zendesk consultant. We are Zendesk partners and Zendesk resellers, and we don't do anything else. This is our job. I've been doing this for so long, so I'm here to share my secrets. Hopefully after this video, you'll be able to have a solid foundation to start off your Zendesk. And for the majority that you have started with your Zendesk and it is a mess, it is for you to backtrack on becoming organized so you have that solid foundation that you can actually build on top of. There's no way to keep everything as simple as I'm going to present right now. This is to serve to give you a solid foundation. Okay? Let's go. Rule number 1 is give triggers intuitive names. And if you can see my screen, I have here a trigger which I call set normal priority to all tickets coming into the system. Now, what do you think this trigger does? I'm going to give you a second. You guessed it. Every trigger that comes into the system will get the priority normal. Now, if you give these intuitive names, it will be very easy for you to go back 2 years later and look at your triggers and see what each one of them does by just glancing at the list. You don't have to enter each trigger, look at the conditions and try to backtrack and remember what you've done or what you intended to do. It's even worse for somebody starting out with this job and having to go back and see other people's triggers and figure out why they did. Do you know how unproductive and utterly blah this task is? Oh my God. Rule number 2 is use trigger categories. The way you use categories for triggers, now Zendesk made it mandatory. So before, back in the day when dinosaurs roamed the earth, we didn't have these categories and we had to do this by naming conventions. What I mean by this, I'll tell you in a second. So the 3 main categories, and there's a logic to it, that you have to use to have a solid foundations are set. So you set ticket properties. So when a ticket comes in, you have to figure out if it's normal priority, if it's a VIP, if it's an order inquiry, if it's a billing inquiry, if it's a tech support, or if it's, product question or general question. You have to figure out to give it some properties to the ticket, okay? So first one is set ticket properties. So this is set category. Now you have to use them in this order. Second one is assign. Okay, so I've added my ticket properties in the first step. Now I have to assign it to somebody. So I know it's an order inquiry. I'm sending it to the order team. I know it's a tech support question. I'll send it to the dev team. I know it's a VIP, so I'm sending it to Brenda because she handles the VIP. She's a customer success manager. So this is what this category is. Assign. Okay, now that you've set the ticket properties, now that you've assigned it to the correct people or correct departments, now comes the notifications. These are notification triggers. Now you send a notification to the customer saying, hey, dear VIP, we'll be in touch in 2 hours or less because you are important to us. And you send a notification internally like, hey, agent, this is VIP. Go jump on it because this is the money maker and we have to keep them with us. You've learned the categories. You've learned them in which order to create them and why. And there is another reason. The reason is because in Zendesk, as you know, or if you don't, triggers run from top to bottom. So you've created a trigger here, that's the first one it fires, and then just before it arrives to number 36. Now these 3 are sufficient for you to have your baseline. You can now go crazy and create more. Create for whatever it is that you need. For example, connections with the outside systems like third-party systems. You can have answer bot triggers, etc. This is all up to you and what makes you specific in your Zendesk and in your business, of course. So quick recap: set, assign, notify. I hope this makes sense. Third tip is auto close tags. In crafting your business rules, you have to pay attention into somewhat junk emails, right? So you don't want to surface an agent's workload tickets that are junk and, are not very interesting to them because they have to read them, they have to assess and then close it or, solve it. But that's a pretty unproductive way to go about your day. So what you do instead, you create a tag like auto close. So auto close tags, you might create some triggers that will say, if a ticket comes in and it's part of this organization and it contains this text like offer declined, let's say, then add the tag auto close. Now there's another trigger that looks for this and automatically solves the ticket. Now the most important thing you have to remember, because I know there's thousands of these kinds of examples, but I just want to draw your attention to the importance of how this works. You have to remove this tag auto close, because think about it. You solve a ticket with this tag, and if the customer comes back to you and says, actually, I need more help, the ticket reopens, and before it actually ends up in someone's queue to, so they can handle it, it gets automatically closed again because it has that tag auto close. It's important to think about how your business rules work. And in this case, remove the auto close tag so that your customers have a chance to come back to you and say they still need help or because otherwise you'll just generate frustration because people, they like to be heard. And if your business rules are working against you, then you'll have frustrated customers. I know if you struggle with these things, no worries. We do this for a living and we'd be happy to come in and look at your setup and guide you in the right direction. So you encourage retention or people coming back to you. Now, these have been just a few tips. I have to run now. I appreciate you for watching this video. You are a legend. And if you liked it, share it with your friends and give it a like. I'd be really grateful if you do. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.